Hello everyone, welcome to this very solemn week of the Clown Decade. For the five of you who live under a rock and don't listen to the news, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain and Northern Ireland passed away last Thursday. And during this week the royal family has had a lot of grieving to go through, but also quite a lot of duty to uphold, which they seem to have done quite well. Part of that duty was Prince Charles, he's not Prince Charles anymore, is King Charles III announcing that on the day of the Queen's funeral, which is next Monday, there will be a public bank holiday. Now, naturally, because it is such a special bank holiday, typically sectors that would be open will be closing for that bank holiday in respect to the late Queen. And the Mirror has a full list of stores closing for the Queen's funeral. And in my opinion, most of these are quite sensible to close. So stores ranging from Greggs to McDonald's will be closing next Monday to mark the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. King Charles III has approved a new bank holiday which will go ahead on Monday, September 19, for his late mother Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, but it is down to retailers whether they close or not, so that's an important point here. No one is forcing these places to close. It is entirely down to the business, what they do with their opening hours that day. A full list of everything open during the day will slowly being confirmed as stores and organisations announce their plans. A government statement said Monday the 19th of September, the date of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral will be a national bank holiday. This will allow individuals, businesses and other organisations to pay their respects to Her Majesty and commemorate her reign while marking the final day of the period of national mourning. Over the course of the week, the full slate of closures will be confirmed. But what is confirmed right now? Now, this is quite a comprehensive list, and I'm obviously not going to go through absolutely everything that is closed, but it just shows how big this event is. I mean, it's the first monarch that's died in Britain for 70 years, so it is no surprise that it is such a huge event. Supermarket chains can vary on bank holidays for opening times, but some have announced that they are closing their doors during the Queen's funeral. Supermarkets Sainsbury's, M&S, Asda, Tesco, Waitrose and Morrisons are set to shut next week to mark the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. And without going through them all in detail, these supermarkets will vary from closing all day to only closing till 5 p.m. After which, Queen Elizabeth II will be buried, the ceremony will be over, and people can get back to their normal lives or spend the evening celebrating the great monarch, which is likely what I will be doing. So next up, it's the wider retailing world. So will other shops be open during the Queen's funeral? Homebase, WH Smith, B&Q, Primark, Argos, Poundland and John Lewis have all said they will be shutting on the day of the late monarch's funeral, and most of these are just shut for the entire day, though some fast food chains, well, notably McDonald's for the moment, will be open at 5 p.m. And generally I think these are quite respectful things to do for the Queen's funeral. I mean, it was always a standard thing in the United Kingdom that we'd have Sunday trading laws where you weren't allowed to open shops on Sundays, though obviously restaurants and cafes were allowed to. So having a call back to that and having the country effectively shut down for a day is quite a nice thing to do for the Queen, I think. And this is enough of a warning to let people know, buy everything you need for Monday on Sunday, because there's no chance you'll be able to get it on Monday. I mean, hell, if they all shut for Christmas, they should definitely shut for the Queen's funeral. But now we're getting into things that I think are a bit on the wobbly side of being respectful. So will tourist attractions be open during the Queen's funeral? Most tourist attractions will close their doors during the Queen's funeral out of respect for the monarchy. Examples here being English Heritage, who have confirmed that heritage sites across the UK, including Stonehenge and HMS Belfast, will be shut for visitors. English Heritage said in a statement, as a mark of respect, English Heritage is closing all sites on Monday the 19th of September 2022 for Her Majesty the Queen's state funeral. So, specifically for English Heritage, closing Stonehenge, I don't get. It's just a place in the middle of nowhere, and some people might like to see these places while also respecting the Queen. I think that's perfectly reasonable. HMS Belfast makes a bit more sense. It's right in the middle of London, and you will need staff on board to make sure people aren't doing anything they shouldn't be or being in places they shouldn't be for HMS Belfast. But at Stonehenge, it's a load of stones, it'll be fine. National Trust have also announced that houses, gardens, cafes and shops will all be closed on Monday, September 19. However, the organisation said coast and countryside car parks, along with holiday cottages and campsites that are already booked, will remain open for visitors. That's absolutely fine to me. I think, again, houses shutting, fair, gardens shutting, don't really get it. Cafes and shops, completely understand. So again, bit on the wobbly side, but still, overall quite respectful. There is a third tourist destination that is in this particular part of the article, but I'm going to hold off on going into that for now because I want to end on it because it is hilarious. But now we get on to the most important stuff. Will pubs be open during the Queen's funeral? Most hospitality industries stay open on bank holidays, and no pub chains have confirmed any closures so far. Thank God for the British. The Stonegate Group, who has more than 4,000 pubs, will remain open with plans to show the funeral. Fuller's Group, which has over 400 pubs across the country, said pubs are an integral part of the community and we expect the majority of our pubs to be open to join with their communities and celebrate the life of an amazing and inspirational leader. That is incredible. And most other pub chains and of course local pubs will definitely be open to show the Queen's funeral as a mark of respect and for people to get together and celebrate the life of the Queen. That's what funerals are for. Will hospitals be open during the bank holiday? The NHS has issued a warning that non-urgent appointments may be rescheduled during the bank holiday. It comes as thousands of hospital and GP appointments scheduled for the day of the Queen's funeral are being postponed in England. GPs received a notice from NHS England explaining that they can choose to close their doors for the funeral. Now, I'm in two minds about this. On the one hand, there is the whole story of there are 6 to 9 million people in NHS backlogs in these massive virtual queues to have follow-up appointments, to have checkups. People just aren't seeing the doctors they need to. And on this bank holiday, okay, it's only one day, but it's not really helping that issue, is it? On the other hand, it's quite typical that on bank holidays, hospital appointments are reduced to essential appointments only. So, I'm in two minds about that. Though it must be frustrating for people who constantly have their appointments rescheduled. I know plenty of people who have had to go through that. So the final thing I want to go through in this article is a quick thing on cinemas. Long story short, they're all closing their doors, they're not showing anything in their cinemas. However, cinema chains including View, Curzon, Real Cinemas, Savoy, Arc and Picture Dome will screen the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II for free on Monday, September 19, at around 150 venues. Curzon Cinemas will show the funeral in its 16 venues during the day and will resume its normal programming of films in the evening, but the rest are closed for the day as far as I'm aware, which I think is an absolute great thing for these cinemas to do. And it's in line with the death of the previous monarch. Theatres and movie theatres were closed on the day of George VI's funeral. But now that live broadcasting is a lot more common, cinemas are able to show the live broadcast, and I think it's very good to have a cinema full of people there to watch the funeral. It's a great thing. And so with that, everything I went through in that list I am perfectly okay with. I think everything there is on the more respectful side and what corporations and individuals should be doing for the Queen's funeral. Obviously it'd be a lot better if it was worldwide, but I'll just take it for Britain. However, there have been some absolutely pants-on-head R-worded things that some people have taken the decision to do when it comes to the death of the Queen. And I'm not just including football cancelling absolutely all matches last weekend. And they're doing the same thing on Monday, but that makes sense. No, we are now going over to the Independent to read about how bike racks have closed and Morrison's turned off the supermarket beeps and for other bizarre signs of respect to the Queen, because some people clearly don't know what to do with their grief. So, number 1, no more supermarket beeps. A supermarket shopper was perplexed after visiting a branch of Morrison's on Saturday to find a slower than normal queue at the self-service checkouts, and they have handily put the Reddit post with the story on. So, the story goes, I was standing in a queue for the self-service in front of others for what felt like an eternity as everyone in front of me struggled. I did what all Brits do and patiently became impatient, wondering why everyone was struggling to scan. How hard can it be, I thought. It wasn't until it was my turn, and I found out that they had turned off the beep. One of the assistants came over when I inevitably upset the machine, so I said I think people are struggling with the beeps off. And she said, did you not know that we are in a period of national mourning? We have turned off all the beeps as a sign of respect, as if I was meant to know this. I still don't think I understand. Do you think Liz would be upset over a self-service beep? Rest in peace. I mean, assuming that this is true, because absolutely every story I see on Reddit I take with a pinch of salt, this is obviously a really stupid thing to do. Now, marks of respect will be simple things like, hanging up black banners about with white text saying, rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth II, or having, say, commemorative memorabilia to be shown around the shop or something like that. But turning off the beeps, obviously just stupid. So stupid, that's why I'm having trouble believing this story, but loads of newspapers are reporting it. You'd think one of them would have done the actual research behind this, but it's Reddit, and people just seem to believe Reddit for some reason. But either way, it's very funny. Now, this story is a bit more believable. Bike rack closed. An image shared on Twitter showed a Norwich City Council sign attached to a cycle rack, warning people it would be closed for almost 2 weeks during the national mourning period. And as you can see here, there's actually a picture from Twitter. So, advance warning, royal period of mourning. This cycle rack will be closed from Friday the 9th of September until Wednesday the 21st of September. That's almost 2 weeks. That's just insane. If you leave your cycle here between these times, it may be removed. We apologise for any inconvenience, and it's laminated and got the Norwich City Council logo on it, so it's probably official. But I don't see why closing a cycle rack for 2 weeks in any way is sensible. If anything, it just creates extra work for the wardens who have to go about, check the cycle racks and check there aren't any bikes there. And if there are, you've got to remove it. Why not just leave it? What's the issue? Next, it's just getting worse. Number 3, Met Office cuts back announcements. A day after the Queen's death, the Met Office announced it would only be limiting its social media post to weather forecasts and warnings only. As seen in this tweet, we are saddened by the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Our thoughts are with her and all her family affected by this news. As a mark of respect during this time of national mourning, we will only be posting daily forecasts and warnings. I can understand the logic behind it is to not clog up Twitter feeds, but really, if people are really mourning, they wouldn't be looking at Twitter. Number 4, going underground in silence. Transport for London is facing a backlash from musicians after it decided to ban busking on the Tube network for 10 days. His Dark Materials author, Philip Pullman, was among those criticising the announcement. Writing on Twitter, he said, "What a miserable mean cast of mind this reveals." A Transport for London spokesman said, "During this period of national mourning, we have taken the decision to pause the busking scheme across our network, and we will reopen the scheme following this." Now, this one is another one I'm in two minds over. Some buskers might really put their heart and soul into making set lists that are there to really commemorate and respect the Queen, and they can also make money off it. But on the other hand, I can see the logic of not risking wanting buskers to be there singing Irish national songs or songs that effectively celebrate the Queen's death. Why take the risk, Number 5, Petition Suspended. The official UK Government and Parliament petitions website has been suspended until further notice following the death of the Queen. The decision means people can no longer post new petitions to put their name to existing campaigns. And as you can see here is an image of what you get on the petition's website. Following the sad announcement of the passing of Her late Majesty the Queen, petition has been paused until further notice. Please check back later for more information. Now, I can see why stifling political activity during this time, including petitioning, would be a thing that some places do, but when it comes to this website, it's clearly fully automated. It's clearly just you want to put your name on this petition? Right, okay, we automatically send back that you need to confirm in an email. Right, you got the email, right, you confirmed it, right, your name's on the list. That's all automated. I don't know why they've had to shut down an automated website like this, but honestly, I think this is just an excuse for the government not to do anything for a few days. Or I should say, parts of the civil service. Now on to the final sign of respect from this list, and again it just gets worse. 6. Data on hold. The Office of National Statistics is a government department that has routinely published a variety of useful data. Ordinarily, the ONS releases detailed statistics on a broad range of subjects, including COVID infections and deaths, unemployment and cost of living. But on Friday, it suspended publications, if only for a day. A statement said, following the profoundly sad announcement of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, all ONS publications scheduled for today, Friday 9th of September 2022, have been postponed until 9:30 on Monday the 12th of September. Next week's scheduled publications will go ahead as advertised unless further changes are announced. Again, it's this thing of you're just putting out data, it doesn't really matter, people can mourn and look at data. It just, again, looks like a government department saying, we've got an excuse to have the day off. because I would have thought it causes more hassle to reschedule these publications to next Monday rather than just doing it at the scheduled time, but what do I know? Anyway, if you thought any of these absolutely big brain ways of respecting the death of the Queen were a PR nightmare, wait until you hear about this. Yes, for those in the UK, you've probably already heard about this, but I just need to go through it. So, Centre Parks UK, for those outside of Britain, these are essentially a holiday home chain where you have a little village of lodges somewhere nice in the UK, somewhere relatively close to nature, and they have a load of activities for families to do, like cycling, long walks, swimming pools, things like that. And so they decided to do the most usual thing that a holiday park would do for a bank holiday. So they sent out this tweet: following the announcement of the date of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, we have made the decision to close all our UK villages on Monday 19 September at 10 a.m. as a mark of respect and to allow as many of our colleagues as possible to be part of this historic moment. Guests who are due to arrive on Monday 19th of September should not travel. We will reopen on Tuesday the 20th of September to welcome guests. All impacted guests will receive an email from us today. Please visit our website for additional information. So that tweet makes it clear that if you're planning to come on Monday for your holiday, don't bother coming, our doors won't be open. But you may be thinking, what about the people inside the park? Well, for guests who were planning to have a lovely long week at the park, they were sent this lovely email from Centre Parks, and it reads: Dear guest, following the announcement of the date of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, we have made the decision to close all our UK villages on Monday the 19th of September as a mark of respect, and allow as many of our colleagues as possible to be part of this historic moment. We understand that your Centre Parks break is still important, and you have the following options. So, you've got 4 options here. You can either choose to arrive as usual on Friday the 16th of September, but the village will be closed at 10 a.m. on Monday the 19th. And you will need to leave the village. You may return to the village on Tuesday the 20th of September and continue with your break if you wish. If you select this option, we will automatically refund 70% of your accommodation cost. So you can either option 1, which is mental to me. I can't even get my brain around this. Centre Parks thought it would be a good idea to tell guests, right, leave our park for a day, but please do come back. And that's option 1. So option 2, you may choose to arrive as usual on Friday, but stay just for the weekend. If you select this option, we will refund the Monday to Friday element of your break. Please remember that you will need to leave by 10 a.m. on Monday. So, okay, option 2, shorten your break to make it basically pointless. Number 3, you may choose to arrive on Tuesday the 20th September and stay up to 3 nights. If you select this option, we will fully refund the weekend element of your stay and also refund the 30% of the midweek element of your stay. So it's basically, it's the most complicated thing. Just stay open. It's not that hard. You are a holiday home. You are supposed to provide holidays for people, even on bank holidays. Number 4, you have the option to cancel and you will get a full refund. So naturally, a holiday park not allowing guests in for their holiday during a bank holiday received quite a large amount of backlash. This was a PR disaster. I don't know who was in charge. They need to be fired on the spot. This was the worst decision I think you can make. And now, according to My London, Centre Park tells guests that they cannot go outside lodges, and then they change their mind again. This is the worst bit of PR I have ever seen in my life. This is internet historian levels of absolute spastic history. So, according to this, Guest Kim tweeted to the company after hearing about the news that they're going to close, saying, I haven't just seen a tweet saying that Centre Parks are going to kick a family with 2 small babies out of the park on Monday the 19th. As a mum with a 3-month-old, I'd be absolutely traumatised. I know it's history, but surely you can do something else. So Centre Parks replied, Hi Kim, we recognise leaving the village for one night is an inconvenience. We have listened and made the decision to allow guests to remain on village on Monday. However, the village will still be closed, so guests will need to remain in their lodges. Oh, they have made the same reply to everyone else asking about it on Twitter. Oh, Lord. And then they had to do an update after a huge response saying that's absolutely stupid. What are you doing? Centre Parks then issued another clarification saying, Hi, apologies for the wording. You will be allowed to walk around the village, but the facilities will be closed. Now that makes a lot more sense, and it is what they should have done in the very first place. Because the thing with Centre Parks is, because it's so close to nature, a lot of people can just go on that day and say, okay, I'll just look at the lovely English countryside. Or stay in, use the guest Wi-Fi and have a watch of the Queen's funeral while we're at it, and get in some outside food or alcohol and all that, because these are self-catered lodges, and celebrate in their own way or do what they want to do on their holiday. But they just couldn't do that at first, and I really want to meet the person who decided it was a really good idea to just fully close the park and kick the people out. I really want to meet the person who thought that was a good idea, and everyone in that committee who decided, yes, that's not going to cause a backlash at all, or is better than the alternative. It's just ridiculous. And with that, I think that is the absolute worst way to show your respect to the Queen. I don't think she'd want to ruin people's holidays with her funeral. But with most of the other things, we've gone from absolutely reasonable things to show respect, such as closing supermarkets for the day, to more iffy ways of showing respect by closing hospitals and postponing appointments, to the absolutely asinine of closing bike racks and closing entire parks in the name of the Queen. But, well, thank God I'm not in charge of any of these decisions. Because if I was in charge of a pub, I'd probably force everyone to kneel as soon as the Queen's coffin is on screen. But anyway, thought I'd all give you something to laugh about in these relatively dark times for Britain. Of course, with King Charles III being in power, I think not long after this, things will return to normal. It'll be a bit odd seeing his face everywhere rather than the Queen's, but, well, it'll be something I'm sure we all get used to, and I'm hoping that he is as a successful a monarch as Queen Elizabeth was. But anyway, that's everything I had for you today. So as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.